Hello guys, so this is video number 7 and today we are docking with the ISS. So that's going to be pretty exciting. So let's go into the scenario from where we left off from the last video. Right there, and let's wait for it to load up. Okay, so let's power up the docking MFD. Press power up and select and go to the docking MFD. And once you saved something and load something up again, then you have to target your target again. So let's go ahead and target the ISS and docking port. You can choose whichever docking port you want, but in some cases one of them is not free, and then you have to look at which other docking ports are free. But let's just take docking port number 1 because that's usually free. So let's press the HUD again, and we are about 34 kilometers away from the ISS. So let's just time warp and get a little closer. We can close this orbit MFD right now. Now the relative inclination and DT min doesn't really matter, so let's just close that down and let's just get closer. So now we're about 15 kilometers away. Let's just even go to, wait, let's go to 12 kilometers. Okay, so let's go ahead and rotate with the 3 and 1. So as you see here, we see a square for the target of the ISS, and then we see a circle with a crosshair inside, which is the velocity vector, so the velocity vector is the direction of speed that we're going. So we're actually going towards the ISS, but we have pretty much thrust going towards the ISS. So we need to get rid of some of the thrust before we arrive, so we don't just shoot right by. So what we need to do is that we need to align, as you can see here, we need to align this arrow in the crosshair, in the center of the crosshair, and then you have to fire your retro engine. So you press the asterisk key, or the minus key, and then you can just go ahead and use linear thrusters with 8 and 2 and 1 and 3, 1, 3, 8, 2, and then we can go ahead and put it on the arrow again, the velocity crosshair, and then let's use some reverse thrust, retro engines. But there is also another way to do it. If we just go into rotation again and turn around using the 3 button on the numeric keypad, there is going to be another velocity vector going the other way, exactly 180 degrees the other way. And this means that we can just close our retro engines, because we don't really need the retro engines to fire. We can just turn 180 degrees around, and then we can just deplete some of the thrust by firing the main engines instead. But before getting rid of all the velocity, let's turn around again, because we don't want it to take too long to get out to the ISS. So let's get a little closer before we deplete all of the velocity. Okay, so if we're just moving this velocity vector a little by pressing 1 and 3, you can see that there is something out here, and these are the green docking squares that you have to go through in order to dock, and those are going to guide you and help you getting to the docking port. So what we need to do is that we don't want to go directly to the ISS. We want to go a little bit out so that we can adjust and then go perfectly into docking with the ISS. So what we need to do is that we need to move this velocity vector by using the translation thrusters 1, 3, and 9 and 6, or I mean 8 and 2, and 1 and 3. And let's put it right there, and it's going to take a bit of time, so let's just use a little bit more of main engine thrust. And then we can just time warp a little bit until we get a little closer. And when we get this close, we don't really have so much time to turn 180 degrees to deplete the forward thrust towards the ISS, so we're just going to use the retro engines to get rid of this thrust pointed towards the ISS. So now we're getting closer and closer. Let's keep on time warping and keep on moving this so it hits one of the squares. And let's deplete some of the engine, let's deplete some of the velocity. Yeah, that's pretty good right now. And there we can see we have the ISS right there. So let's go ahead and get rid of the velocity. Not quite yet, because we still need to get closer. Yeah, we can actually go ahead and do it now, because we're not that far away. Yeah. So once we get a little bit closer, and right now let's just almost deplete some of the thrust. So let's just go ahead and rotate, and then you want to rotate towards the docking rectangles. So we still need to adjust, and what we can do is that we can turn so that we will lie perfectly aligned with the docking squares or rectangles. So to rotate this way, to kind of pivot the vessel, you have to press 4 and 6. So let's just pivot the vessel until we're lying about here. So what we need to do now is that we need to get a little bit down, so we can use the translation thrusters to get ourselves a little bit down by pressing the 8, and we can move it by pressing the 1 and 3. Then we can press the 8 to get ourselves more down, and then we can go into rotation again, and then point the nose up. So now you can see now we look at this docking MFD. Now you can see a red cross coming into view, which is our orientation, and it needs to be perfectly centered. So just keep pulling the nose up until it hits this line, and then use 1 or 3 until it gets perfectly centered. And now we can go ahead and use some linear thrusters and get ourselves towards the ISS. Right there. And we can rotate once again. Like that. was not what we wanted to do. Now we need to center it again. And this way, like that. Okay. So we can go ahead and rotate it like this. Yes. Okay. So let's just slow down a little bit so I can explain things. So now we are in a stable path towards the ISS. So what we can actually do now is that we can open the nose cone, and as you can see, we are actually going to dock in the sunlight. So we can see the ISS, it's not completely dark, which is very good. So yeah, what we can do now is press K to open the nose cone so we can dock with the ISS. So now the nose cone is open. So what we can do right now is we need to get this yellow cross right now centered, and we're going to do that by using the translation thrusters, and this is something that takes experience. You need to do this at least a little bit before you get good at it and get it in the first try, because it's a little complicated for beginners, but you'll get the hang of it eventually. So because this cross is above the center, we need to press 2 to raise our vessel. So we need to gain altitude to bring this cross down. And as you can see right now, it's coming down. So if it's below the center, that means that you have to lower the vessel. And when it's going to the left, you need to press 1 to get it towards the center, and when it's about center, you have to go and get the velocity vector back to the square or thereabout, and then we need to go a little up again. And if it gets to the right, you have to press 3, and then it will go back towards the center. But we are very close to the ISS. So let's just get a little closer before we do any of the last corrections. So this is the distance to the docking port, and this is just the distance, 130 kilometers or meters, of course, to the center of the space station. So this is the distance that you want to look at when you're going towards the space station. So this is the velocity that we have towards the space station. And let's look. No, sorry. This is the velocity. The yellow here is the velocity. But we don't really have to look at this right now. This gets more and more, very much more important when going out to the moon and stuff. So we need to get up a little bit, as you can see right now. And as you can see, there is the docking port that we're going to dock with. And we need to get a little bit to the left by pressing 1. And now we need to straighten up, and we need to go up a little bit and then more to the left, straighten up, and we can start to lower our velocity again. so that we have time to do corrections. So now it's centered. So okay, so now we need to go a little bit more up. Like that. And let's look from the outside. We are going to dock with this docking board. And it's a beautiful view up here, right? So this is our vessel. We took off from the Earth, the space tech company, and now we are almost docked with the ISS. So let's keep doing the corrections. We are a little bit too high. Like that, and straighten up. And now we have the yellow cross centered, so and now let's slow down again, because now we have to do the last minute corrections. Let's go up. We need to gain some altitude. Like that. And we're only 9 meters away. So let's keep focusing on this docking MFD if we need to make some small corrections. But it doesn't look like we're going to make some small corrections right now. Yes, so we need to go a little up. Like that. And you can be off a little bit from the middle. The green circle is from within the area that you can be off. So if you're out here with the yellow cross, that means that you aren't going to dock, but this is inside the green circle is the safe zone for docking with the ISS. And we're almost there. And we docked.
Capture and hard
Congratulations. So now guys, we have docked to the ISS. And this is it's pretty hard to do it the first times, because you have to get the hang of it. You just have to experiment with the translation, getting closer to the ISS and adjusting your small adjustments and all that kind of stuff. But you just need to get used to it. It takes some tries, but then you'll get better at docking, and then you can go ahead and visit the International Space Station, and then we can go on with going to the moon in the future, or to other places. So this was going to the ISS. And it's pretty special when you dock for the first time, because you have this beautiful view right here in daylight, and you have just docked your vessel, which took off from down from the ground at the Space Tech Company, and now you have actually catched up with the ISS. So that's pretty cool. So yes, this was a series of how to go to the ISS with autopilot, and it will be a little bit more complex in the next series of going to the ISS, where we will do a manual ascent and calculate the heading